missed the game. So, yeah, big task tomorrow, I must say. I do believe if anyone's seen the penalty and how we never give it, was a bit unbelievable, really.
No, it's great stuff, though. It's so exciting to be in it. You've got a chance, haven't you?
Well, exactly. But I do believe that we was a bit unjust yesterday. I mean, Pete was there, he vouched for me, and there was a video, like I said, showed it. The referee told me his best explanation was that his hand was in a natural position down by his side, but when it's up here, it's a different thing. But I don't know. But yeah, listen, it's great to be in it, and we're enjoying the little trip. Just hope it don't have a knock-on effect on our league, like it did, in my opinion, against David's team last week.
I was waiting.
I'll tell you what. We talk about knock-on effect. A couple of years ago, when we lost to Wimbledon, we then won our next 10 league games straight. So that was a knock-on effect in a positive way, even though we lost it with 20 seconds to go live on telly. So don't worry about knock-on effect. It's great for the confidence for the boys.
Let's hope I have your luck then. Well,
I hope so. I wish
you well luck, but I'd say,
We're looking out for you anyway. I wish you well tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I still have nightmares about your last-minute goal.
What, the other night on Saturday?
No, the one in the cup.
Yeah, what, Saturday or the Emerald game?
No, Aki from.
Sorry. I thought you meant us.
He's Haringey. He's still couldn't believe that.
The Wimbledon game?
Yeah.
Oh, that was. Do you know what? That was awful because it poured down with rain all day and all night, and I couldn't get under cover, so I just got soaked. And we had other problems with, electrical things falling and cutting out, and we had. It was impossible trying to get. We had to run cables across the car park to try and get lights in the toilets for the away fans. It was just a nightmare. I missed the first 20 minutes anyway. Then we got absolutely soaked. And I thought, do you know the good thing about this is at least on Tuesday night, whenever we go down there, I'm just going to turn up in a coach and let them entertain me. I've had enough. And with 20 seconds to go, they scored. That was the end of that. But it was a fantastic experience, though. I mean, it was.
Yeah, you had a great run, didn't you, to be fair? Brilliant run. I mean, I remember that. I'm pretty sure it was the weather that put me off, or I knew you was going to have a massive crowd, so.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You've done well there, mate, to be fair. I remember going, I don't know if you was part of it then, when I was manager at Hertford many years ago, we played during the FA Cup then.
I would have been there. I've been there since '95. So
unless you was on your old pitch. You was on your old pitch and we beat you 3-0.
Let's get started instead. Well, welcome to the D&K Reposs Non League show, and we're here for the next couple of hours. And usually I say good evening to Keith, but he's been in. I'm sure I've seen he's been in sunny Spain this weekend.
Yeah, I've seen the photos.
So he's been playing some nice golf down there. So he'll be back with us next week, of course, with our referee special. Next week he will be back with the likes of Steve Bennett and others next week. But of course, joining me this week, of course, if you're watching, the same as I can see on screen in front of me, top left from hashtag 90 minutes, we've got Pete Hill. So welcome, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Good evening. I was just saying to you, it's not a conspiracy theory, is it? I come on and Facebook crashes, so I hope there's no relation there.
Is there? Yeah, so Facebook, we're out. So no one's on Facebook, so no one can see us. We're all on Twitter and YouTube only tonight. And then, of course, we've got, for me, the living legend. Everybody I think if Heineken could do chairman, well, there he is. He's sitting down there in the bottom left-hand corner. Aki, of course, from Haringey. Welcome, Aki.
Thank you. Welcome to you guys.
And, of course, on the right, the man that's got a lovely trip all the way to Kidderminster tomorrow, and then another away trip to either Bedford, is it Bedford Sports or Sholing in the next round, of course.
Bedford.
Mr. Paul Halsey, manager of Ware.
Good evening, all.
And, of course, we won't speak about last Tuesday either, Paul, so don't worry.
You've got to win one, mate. You've got to win one.
So, I mean, I suppose one of the first things to say, I suppose, is this trip, if we don't mind, guys. We talked to Paul and the trip tomorrow, and talk us through a little bit about the game. I suppose you and Pete could talk us through the game because, of course, Pete does loads of stuff for you guys, commentary wise and social media wise and videoing wise as well with hashtag 90 minutes along with Simon. I mean, talk us through that game at the weekend. I mean, it must have been a fantastic atmosphere having Kidderminster coming down to you. And what was the whole day like? For
me, it was special, a bit like the Hemel Hempstead game. I think that we can all agree that when you're playing someone two leagues above what you are, it gives you that sort of extra little bit of buzz and excitement about the game. The day panned out, really bad weather again, a bit like last Tuesday, David. But we got off to an awful start. I don't know what it was. It was probably within the minute that they scored and went 1-0 up. But to be fair to the boys, we didn't let it faze us. We had chances in the first half. Robbie had a chance, Liam had a chance, and I think James Mully had a chance. So technically, we could have gone in at the minimum level at half time. And I felt, listen, I spoke to Lou before the game on the pitch. Conditions weren't great. And we have got a little bit of a slope on that pitch, as much as the people at Lady it says there ain't, but we have. And the rain and wind was coming down in our faces. So if we was to go up like the way we actually did, but we both decided that we're going to stick with what if he wins the toss, we'll go up into it. And obviously, both teams suffered from that, both halves. But we played with it. We was only a goal down at half time. And for me, it's an easy talk at half time. For me, you're a goal down against a conference north side. And I believe that that we could have took the game to them. I told them it's there for the taking. You've got nothing to lose. And we did, to be fair. And I think Pete would probably vouch for this. No one would see the difference in levels of teams if you was a neutral in that game. And I've seen on some of their Twitter that they thought that they was lucky to get away with draw. The chances we missed in the first half, the handball, the goal, a couple of other incidents. Listen, we've got nothing to be afraid of. We'll go there tomorrow and do our best. We're taking two coaches, one for the fans and one for the players and fans probably. So where the club's come over the last few years is massive. So, but yeah, it was an exciting game. You can just see by our lads the celebration. It's funny really. I said to the chairman as well, to be fair, if we're drawing, I'm telling the boys to throw one in because I can't be asked to get up there, but that's just a little bit of a joke, but yeah, we'll go up there. We're all prepared. But it's exciting times. It's a good ground to go to.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, and Pete as well. I mean, I remember the days when, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all to Ware at all, but I mean, it's a bit like what you said. Years ago, you was, before you was there, as such, Ware were one of the ones that you would look at every year to possibly be one of the favourites to get relegated. They, it wasn't a large crowd, so that must be a massive buzz for you guys to be able to go to Kidderminster with almost a full ground on Saturday, and now taking coaches up to Kidderminster. That just shows you what a fantastic job you've done. The board's done at Ware, and of course the players as well, in turning it all around and really sort of now being probably one of the powerhouse clubs in our local area.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Pete, you carry on.
Yeah, I was going to say, 14 years, wouldn't it? In 2007, last appearance in the first round. But I just want to go back to Saturday's game and say one thing it established for me on Saturday, and I coined it in commentary, is this is a team that doesn't know when it's been beaten, because the one stat I keep trolling out is the fact that they've scored 9 goals in the last 10 minutes of games already this season, which is, that really is a sign of a side that, okay, they may go behind, but they don't panic, and they're a side that don't know when they're beaten. They do my voice in a bit with those last-minute equalisers. I said to Lee Rose on Saturday, But, I think it's a real sign of what Paul's put together and the team and the camaraderie in that team, that they can produce that kind of statistic so early in the season.
I think, listen, I've funny enough, my chairman's just calling me. But listen, it's a whole community team effort. Without that pitch, that helps massively. The chairman, does that backs me. He knows that I'm local. I can bring fans in. I've got a great coaching team. I've got a great group of players. And if anyone follows my career, they'll know that I'll never have a team that really gives up. So I think that, the club's moved on, but it's a big joint effort. We've all sort of pulled together, and Aki will back me up with the 4G. It's helped the teams. It helps getting supporters in, because I go back to when I played Haringey many, many years ago when I was at Hertford. I think it was probably lucky you have 50 fans, and now you're getting well into the hundreds. Yeah. So, and that's testament to them and what they've done, and they've brought in the community, and it's brilliant. And that's what we're trying to achieve. Just want to get the local community in, having local players as well. And having kids wanting their photos taken with the players. It's just great. And having that 500-600 there Saturday. Everyone's like, you've only got to see the video and what the fans were like after that game when we scored, and it just gives you such a lift. It really does.
It's amazing. It sounds as though I'm listening to myself talking there, because it's exactly what's happened with us over the last few years. Once we put the synthetic pitch in there and we got the fans in through the door, now they are committed, hardcore Haringey fans, and the greatest thing which we've got this thing going on between a couple of sections of the crowd. We've got those upstairs, the older gentlemen, should I say, in their 40s and 50s, who are in the stand upstairs, and they've got a cowbell that they ring, and they call themselves the Bell End. And down below them is even funnier, because we've now got about 20 or 30 like 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds who come along with their parents, and they've called themselves the Creche End, and they're directly below the Bell End. And it's just a brilliant atmosphere that they create for every home game, and it's just amazing. We take a lot away now as well. We get a good 50, 60 people going, which is amazing. And I was talking to someone a couple of weeks ago saying 5 years ago, if I just took the keys of our club back to the council and handed them back, no one would have noticed that a club in Haringey has just gone down and disappeared. No one would have noticed at all. Whereas now we've got this hardcore support, and there will be people who would raise questions if we just disappeared overnight. Because we've got a good 300 or 400 now who come regularly, and it's a fantastic feeling for the whole community. We do it slightly differently with the free season ticket because of where we are, the area we're in. We have to get people in, and that's the way we get them in. But they're incredible, the whole lot of them. And I don't know if any of them are listening tonight. I hope a few are. But here's to all of you. Thanks for the support, guys.
No, but it's great though, isn't it? Because the players love it. Oh. You know what I mean? And I've been to a few of your games, obviously, with that crowd up in the top bit up there. But it's just great for the players that they score and they run over to the crowd. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that really matter in football. It does.
Yeah, I mean, I say you talking about. I still remember the days when our assistant manager was the captain of the team. And I still remember him coming over, and I was up doing the tannoy, and I see him coming over to the crowd at the end when we just got the youth sort of team started to come into the club, and he walks over, and I think I've said it on the show a few times. He walks over to the kids, and the kids are wanting him to sign the shirts, and they're wanting him to sign their football boots, and of course the players weren't used to that type of thing. So he's almost asking the parents whether or not it's all right for me to do this. Like, do you want me to sign these shorts or whatever, shoes and football boots, etc., etc. And of course the parents are saying, yeah, no, the kids would love that. The kids would love that. And of course he goes and and signs it all and goes from there. But I suppose one of the things for me, Paul, as well, and maybe for Aki as well, When you've got these big away trips that you've got, really important games, but they are long trips, how easy is that at short notice to get the players off of work and all the rest of it to actually be able to take a side that you want to take up to whichever team it is that you're going to be playing in the cup?
Listen, when people working, it does become can be a bit of a nightmare. It's like me myself. I've got to take time off. I've just had a text from one of the players wants to meet us there. Unfortunately, he won't go on the flight. If he don't go on the bus, he'll get a fine. But that's down to the players. But we've got to pick one up on the way. So at the moment, it hasn't been too much of a trouble. But when you're playing, I don't know. I know it was decided, wasn't it, that at our level we'll do replays because financially it's helps the clubs at our levels. I'd rather have gone up there Saturday and drew then and come back to ours on a Tuesday. It's easy for them, innit? They're full time. Kidderminster are full time, so it's quite easier for them. But listen, the prize is a fourth round. Do you know what I mean? So we don't have to do that often. Take a side up, 3 hours journey up the motorway, 3 hours back. We don't have to often do that. So it is what it is, really. It's not easy because, like I say, people have to take time off. At the moment, I've had good feedback and everyone's available. So it can be a bit of a pain, I suppose, with work. But yeah.
Then I suppose your opening is no idiot sitting on the motorway stopping you from getting anywhere.
Well, we'll drag him in, put him in the coach, they can come and watch the game then, can't they? But you're right. I mean, if they do that, we've had it, haven't we? So hopefully they're not. I see it's stupid what they're doing because someone's going to get killed one day or seriously hurt because of an accident. And I see on the Facebook today, or not Facebook, or about a lady's trying to get to see her mum,
Yeah.
There's ways of means of protesting about this, and as much as everyone probably thinks it's a good idea, that what they're doing, I don't agree with it because everyday life, people who've got no control making them decisions are not going to have an effect. So protest, do it a different way, I think.
Paul, would you say it was a fair comment to say that, whoever wins out of you and Kidderminster tomorrow and Sholin and Bedfont and that, I mean, it's one of those things really that both teams will be looking at thinking, well, we could have, especially if it's yourself that gets through and beats Kidderminster tomorrow and you've got those guys, it's both sides. You go into sort of almost a level game where, you could have been playing someone like a Wrexham or something like that in that round. I mean, for the club, I know people want a big game, don't get me wrong, to get into the first round, but surely all three sides at the lower level there will be thinking, wow, this is a great opportunity for us to get into the first round of the FA Cup.
Yeah, but I've always learned in football you take nothing for granted. It can easily backfire playing someone at our level and end up not, I think sometimes you raise your game to these bigger clubs. I think that happens in even whatever level football we're in. I won't worry about that. I don't worry about that. All I worry about is tomorrow night. People probably tell you, most of my interviews, I won't normally talk about that game. But, we listen, we've got to win tomorrow, and that's a massive task for us going up there. There's going to be a big crowd. I looked at their crowds that they're getting, and I imagine it's going to be quite intimidating. So let's see how we handle going away with possible 1,500 people watching the game. So, if we win that, I'll look at that and decide, but I know what you're saying, but if you start talking about things like that, I don't want to get overconfident. I'm never like that. So
you're spot on there. I should have learnt from past experiences, but I mean, last year we got to the final qualifying round 3 years in a row, and obviously one of those we made it, and we got Wimbledon. Last year we drew Malden and Tiptree away in the final qualifying round, and Malden were not the Malden of the previous year. The previous year they'd won every game, but they lost their whole team, restructured their whole team, and I honestly thought we were going to walk that game. We ended up getting beat with a last-minute penalty, and they end up drawing Morecambe home in the next round, in the first round, and it's just Paul's absolutely right. You cannot look beyond the game you've got. Whatever happens after that takes care of itself. But you have got. I should have learned, but I think we were spoilt by the fact that we'd made it the previous year. We played Yeovil the year before that, Wimbledon. It's just you almost become a little bit not blasé about it, but we thought, well, we're strong, we're a good side, we're going to win tomorrow, and then let's see what the draw brings on Monday. And that was such a bitter pill to swallow. I mean, it would have gone to penalties anyway, and we could easily have lost on penalties. As it happens, we gave them an 89th minute penalty, so that was the end of that. So no, Paul's absolutely right. You've got to look one game at a time and see where it takes you.
So Pete, as a neutral, I'll ask you the same question. Do you think then that the same sort of question for you? If you're I'll ask Paul that question in a minute, but I mean, is it one of those things, I suppose, for a club you'd want to probably play something like a Wrexham or something like that in that for the money? Or is it a case of, look, you'll play somebody at your same sort of level and hope for the best? Is that a good draw, do you think, to get? Because it's one of those things where, again, there probably won't be anywhere near as much money in that game to what there was maybe tomorrow night and Tuesday night, so on Saturday. So I suppose it's weighing it up, isn't it? Money or possibly an easier progression on paper.
Yeah, and it's also weighing up to the Holy Grail, isn't it? Which is, first round of the FA Cup for where it'd only be the third ever time they've done it. And from a, take off my kind of, if I put my fan's hat on, yeah, I had a look at the draw and thought, that's not bad. Shoaling or Bedfont Sports, well, yeah, they've got a chance there. But, also as a fan, I know Paul well enough to know that, that is a really big game tomorrow, and they've got a really big task on their hands tomorrow. And I guess, even from a fan's perspective, I'm looking at it from, hey, let's get through tomorrow. And then I'll start to look at Bedfont and, I'll do my own work on Bedfont and Shoaling, whoever gets through tomorrow night in the replay. And think, yeah, okay. And I think probably from a fan's perspective, disappointment to me would be, and no disrespect to them, is if we got through the first round and then drew Bedfont and Shoaling, because I think then that would be, disappointment for the fans. You get through the first round, you see teams like Sunderland, Portsmouth, etc. And that, I think, from a fan's perspective, what you're looking at in the first round of the FA Cup.
So I suppose that brings to another subject, I suppose, really, guys. I mean, if you say, for instance, a team, we're not necessarily talking about where, we're talking about whichever team it might be, and you're getting to sort of like this fourth sort of qualifying round, third qualifying round, and you get to the first round. Would you, I mean, as a chairman or as a manager, would you want a side that's higher than you, a lot higher than you, or would you rather have, what's so-called easier game and having somebody at the same sort of level for the progression? Because let's just be honest, you could end up with like that sort of draw all the way through, and in May you could have FA Cup final, couldn't you? I know it's a long shot, but if the draws were that good.
I'm with Peter on this one. Anyone who ever saw me, I was live for the BBC draw when we got to the first round, and I went up to Dennis Wise before he drew the balls out, and I just said to him, number 41, please. He just looked at me. I said, just 41 will be fine. Just leave it at that. 41 was Sunderland away. I wasn't interested in League Two sides. League One was Sunderland away, and you actually see me mouth it when he pulls the team out. When they pulled out Haringey first, and then he's put his hand in there, and they panned on me, and I've gone 41. He's pulled out number 1. I thought, who's one? It didn't even occur to me. They went AFC Wimbledon. I went, that'll do. But that was funny. So yeah, from a chairman's point of view, to go away somewhere like Sunderland, you're not thinking about further rounds. You're not even thinking about money. It's just Haringey playing at the Stadium of Light. It's just,
totally.
Live with you forever. So, that to me, the higher, the best team. It was actually, we were looking at Sunderland, and as Peter just said, Portsmouth, you're looking at the big supported crowds. Go and play in front of 20,000 people. I mean, they wouldn't have their usual 40 for a first round game against Harringay, but they get 20 and, Portsmouth would have got 16, 18. They're thinking, oh my God, 18,000 people.
But as a chairman, is that when they, you might get 20,000, say, at the Stadium of Light, and then they come back to you and tell you the tickets are £30 a pop or something, and you think, oh, happy days. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously, 20,000, even a tenner a pop is plenty. Thank you very much. Get half the gate money. Yeah, no, don't worry about that.
That's the difference for my lot. They'd be more interested in a night out in Newcastle. Sorry about playing Sunderland.
Yeah. I mean, as a game like that, I mean, you guys at the bottom there, you've both been through it. How do you keep, what sort of work have you had to do, say, Paul, between Saturday and tomorrow night? How much sort of work have you got to do with the players that you've got, and maybe even your staff as well, and maybe even the chairman, as he's calling you tonight, to keep their sort of feet on the ground and go, look, the game's Tuesday. Let's just concentrate and try and not get that sort of excitement that's going to affect performance, if you know what I mean. How do you sort of keep people on?
Well, first and foremost, I'm going to have to ring my chairman back because I didn't answer twice, and he's gone, that's it now, you've drawn the final straw.
You're fired.
Yeah, love him. I do love him. Unfortunately, this is the pros and cons. Well, not pros and cons. Well, pros and cons of being where we are, non-league, and Kidderminster are all full time. They knew. Listen, they come and watched us. David, was you there last Tuesday?
I wasn't, unfortunately. No, I was actually.
Peter can vouch for this probably because we were so poor. It's unbelievable. Yep. I'm not taking nothing away from Marlow. We just was not at the races, and they come and watch that game, so they probably took it from there. One, I didn't have my right back playing on Tuesday, and then changed the centre half. So he sort of took. We hadn't watched. We sent our scout up to Flint, and also got another report from another manager up in the north. So he's then seen a better performance from our boys on Saturday. So now he'll take that back. Yeah, he'll spend time with his players today on the training ground. Listen, I don't have that luxury. I can't bring him in on a Sunday. I can't bring him in on a Monday because they're at work. So everything I need to address and everything that I addressed with them on Saturday, because I had 2 reports on them and they're both much and much. So all my homework is done on the information that's given to me regarding them. So, yeah, we can take on, and to be fair to the lads, everything I told them they did, we went over on Thursday night after training on the screen like we normally do. And there was much to exactly that and what they done. So we know what they're about, and we know that it's getting in front of their own crowd. They're going to be even, pressing more. They're going to move the ball in, and their tempo of the games. So I don't have that luxury where I can bring them in and say, look, this is where we went wrong a little bit in that first half. I don't have that luxury. They do. They have that luxury today because they would have been in and they would have talked about it. They probably would have went in yesterday and done a talk down. So,
but do they actually realise though that you've got a one-upman on them already? That the ref on tomorrow night's your brother.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great shot. No. I wouldn't have him as a ref. I complain. He reffed me once when I was playing, when he gave up football and he was reffing Sunday morning, right? Played over in Hatfield. I've gone and got this ball, took it out, yeah, lovely. Geezer's come in to me, knocked me flying into the goal. Free kick all day long. He gave a goal. Then threatened to book me, but I kept on arguing with him. But I believe he mentioned this as on Talk Sport today.
There you go.
In the interviews. So yeah.
He's not. I know. Is he still in Spain? He's not going to make tomorrow.
No, he's in Spain. He listens to Pete's show. To be fair, he's listened to that a couple of times. Doing that, to be fair, the live commentary. So that's he gets that. He's busy being a manager himself now, isn't he? Out in Spain, in his vets.
Lovely. But I mean, Aki, with yours as well. I mean, I suppose the advice there. I mean, getting a TV game, and when you got that TV game, what was that like?
That was the worst 10 days of my life. When you think about the fact that our club is me, John Bacon, and Tom, and I went abroad actually. I went to see Spurs play.
Oh,
It was obviously Eindhoven. Anyway, I was in the car on the Wednesday travelling to the match in Holland, and that's when I got the phone call from the FA saying we've been picked as the live game, and I was told not to mention it to anybody because they weren't going to announce it until later on in the afternoon. So I'm jumping up and down in his car, not allowed to say anything to anybody. I did ring Tom. I told him not to say anything to anybody, and that was it. But you know, we had 10 days to get the stadium ready for a crowd of nearly 3,000 people. And it was once the BBC got involved. When you see the truckloads, it took them 4 days to wire up the ground for their coverage. They brought in 2 cranes with lighting towers. It was unbelievable. And then we had to get through the safety inspection. We had to get building regs passed by the council. We had to do so much, and then obviously get tickets done and sell the tickets and everything else. So it was, honestly, it put years on me. That was 10 days of real grief. Even to the extent where on the day of the game, we had a 12 noon meeting with the council where they could have called the game off. And that was 8 o'clock in the evening, the game. And I said to the bloke when he turned up, he started picking on little things. And I said, listen, because first time I saw him, he said to me, I'm involved in the building regs down at the Spurs stadium. So when he started on me on that Friday, I said, look, do me a favour. I said, we ain't Tottenham. You have to understand who we are, what we've done. You came here on Wednesday. You've come here today. You've told me to do a number of things. We've done the best we can. That's it. And he sort of looked at me and he went, yeah, all right, the game's on. But even up until like 12 noon, they were threatening to call the game off. It was just ridiculous. It was just so much pressure. And that's why I didn't enjoy the game. As I said earlier, when things started going wrong before kickoff, I couldn't enjoy the game. The only time I enjoyed the game really was about the last 10 minutes when I thought, blimey, they ain't never scoring. I looked at it and I went, there's no way Wimbledon are scoring tonight. A mate of mine said to me, 7 minutes to go. I said, well, they ain't scoring. The only thing that's going to happen in the next 7 minutes is whether we score. And then they done. I've seen that goal, Paul. If you saw that goal, like 15 mistakes. It took them 26 seconds. We had a throw-in down the right wing, and 26 seconds later they'd scored. And when you see where the ball was going, how it went all over that pitch, mistake after mistake after mistake, to end up with a deflected shot off the bloke's shin and over my goalkeeper, was just, oh man, I couldn't watch it. It took me a couple of days to watch that goal again. But yeah, all of that. I'll tell you, from a footballing perspective, if I may, I was a little bit disappointed because we were better than that performance. I think what happened was we were overawed by the whole situation. And for as long as it stayed 0-0, we just didn't attack and we showed nothing. We scored a goal that was offside midway through the second half. There was a clear offside. So there was never any chance of being given. But I was a bit disappointed looking back on it that we didn't show what we were truly capable of. I'd much rather they scored with 20 minutes to go than we could have had a real go. Even if we'd have got beat 3-0, the whole nation would have seen us give it a real go because we had some fantastic attacking players and we couldn't show it because they were just so scared, I think, of letting a goal in that we just didn't. And then they scored with 20 seconds to go. You've got no chance to come back. So, but the experience, as I said earlier, one of the best experiences ever in my life. So, yeah.
Can I just jump in there? Aki, would you rather, after the experience about the building reg, would you think, oh, maybe I'd rather that away for less headache, like I played at there, Gav? I
think I wouldn't have had a problem with that, save for the fact that I don't think we would have been selected as a live game if it was away.
Right.
So if it was away, yes, we get half the gate money. We get no bar takings, obviously, no advertising, because we not only did we get money from the FA for the game being on BBC, they send in an advertising company, so you have boards all around the ground, you get money for that. I mean, I think from a financial point of view, it made a massive difference that it was a home draw. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't have minded going away, as I said to you earlier, let them wine and dine me.
Yeah.
Rather than all the aggro we had. But yeah.
Would be the best scenario then. I mean, if say for instance you would have pulled Sunderland out that day, and you pulled Sunderland out, but you might get, as you said, 20, 30,000 people, whatever it might be, at the stadium and like watching the game, compared to and not be on the telly, or being at Haringey and having Sunderland at Haringey, and only having whatever your capacity is at Haringey, plus the TV money. What would have been the better financial package for Haringey? Would it have been, do you think, going to the bigger club and not be on the telly, or be on the telly and have a full house at Haringey?
I don't think there'd have been a lot in it, to be honest with you. Depends how many, what the crowd was and what their gate money was. But don't forget, they have different. To be honest with you, I think you'd have made more money going away to Sunderland, because they wouldn't have had £10 and £15 and £20, because they've got their other tickets that are more expensive. Some, even for a game like that, some are paying £30, £40, £50. If you had 20,000 times that, you could easily have a 300, 400 grand gate money. So I think that, and the experience, it's a difficult one actually, because for us, for the players, coaching staff, myself, I would have loved it to go to the Stadium of Light. Obviously, we wouldn't have taken that many fans. So we would have filled our stadium with 3,000 people. So you've got that unbelievable atmosphere in the locality, in the community, that counts more than the money, to be honest with you. I don't want to sound pious about that. I mean, the money's massive and for a club like ours. But I think that the experience would have lived with you forever either way. I don't mind which one. Let me have it next year either way. I don't care. I'll take either.
I'm not sure though, if you did draw Sunderland, the police would advise that game to be played at somewhere like our grounds. I'll be very surprised.
You could
Do
be
you
right.
know what I mean? You know, Sunderland might want to bring 3,000 on their own. Well,
No, you're right.
I just don't, because I remember when Kidderminster come to us in truth, I was involved in the talks with the police and everything in them, and I just don't. You know, you'd have to have segregation. Yeah. You'd have to have an amount of stewards that would be. You'd have to have police there. You'd have to pay for the police. I'm not sure whether that would ever be. You know,
yeah, you are right. You are right. I think that that's the only ground. Funnily enough, the only reason you can now switch. You can't just switch it for money reasons. It's if the police say it'd be unsafe.
Yeah.
Then you can switch it. You'd have to find the local. We'd probably look at Leyton Orient if that happened. We'd go, because we get on very well with them. We know them there. You try and look at maybe staging the game there. You wouldn't be able to switch it, I don't think, to Sunderland.
You got that tip up the road though when you use that?
I'm not sure. We probably overfill that. Can you imagine? I mean, if you had 3,000 people in every one in each corner, wouldn't it? So
yeah, and going up as well.
Yeah, you'd create no atmosphere at all.
I mean, that would that not? Well, I'm assuming that if you say you went to Leyton Orient or you went to the Toilet Bowl up the road from you, wherever it would be, they would charge you as a club to use that ground as well. Yeah, so they're not taking money out of what you were going to earn on that day. Yeah,
absolutely. They would charge you. That's why I'd go to Orient. I wouldn't go down the road.
Yeah, I'd like to think they wouldn't charge you. They would support local non-league football and say, look, you know, obviously you've got to pay for the staff, but we don't want to charge you for the facilities. I know, but, you know, I know Orient need money as well, but you'd like to think big clubs would, you know, would help you out. So
we'll have to wait and see.
But Pete, I mean, day job. I mean, he's hashtag nothing makes your job, or is it have you got a job as well? And and how, if so, how difficult is that for you and Simon to get off tomorrow and get up to Kidderminster?
Well, I'm lucky because I do a little bit of work for myself, so I'm in a fortunate position. Simon's had to take a day off, and also the whole thing behind, as you know, Dave, just covering non-league football is a labour of love. If we're not doing a commentary on a Saturday game, I mean, we're going to be doing Saturday, Tuesday for the next few months to come. We got podcast comes out on the Friday. All the stuff goes on YouTube, Twitter, all of that kind of stuff. I'm kind of old school. I worked for the BBC and various people back in the dark ages when it was still Chinograph pencils and razor blades and stuff like that. And to a certain extent, it was a bit easier because you didn't have all this social media and all the stuff to keep on and the glamour for news. But I think it's important. I don't know if there are that many people doing live commentary at Step 4. I actually put something on one of the non-league Facebook pages the other day, but I haven't had a reply. So we'll see what happens. I see that Verulam Radio, who are people that I do know, are now doing a bit at Coney Heath at Step 4. So good luck for them. But the kind of response we've got has been amazing. It's been amazing from the clubs. It's been amazing from the fans, been amazing from the players, and there's a real need out there. So I hope a lot more people get involved. And I think the one good thing, we're talking to you on technology tonight. Technology makes it all possible now. I used to lug around a Ewer tape recorder that did my back in, whereas now you do it all on an iPhone. Literally, our commentaries go out through a little gizmo that's about that big. And sound quality, as I'm sure people that have listened will attest, is pretty top notch. So all things are possible, but are there people out there to get involved? I just wanted to ask the guys actually a point on that is that non-league football survives on volunteers and well-meaning volunteers. Is there going to be an issue in a few years' time that those well-meaning volunteers won't be around? Because a lot of those well-meaning volunteers, not to detract from them, are usually of a certain age. And I just want to know, are the younger volunteers coming in that are kind of willing to take it on?
We've certainly had some. We struggled with volunteers full stop until the pandemic. Now we've got 7 or 8 stewards for every match game. We volunteered their services when we started playing games last year with all the risk assessments and the COVID restrictions that you had. A lot of them got together and said, can we help in any way? These were just normal fans who we used to see at home games. They made themselves known and they love it. And it's relieved us of so many headaches we used to have on match days. Now we know match days pretty much run like clockwork. We've got people to man the turnstiles, people to man the car parks, people to tell supporters where to go. And it's amazing for us, all volunteers, no one asks for anything. I try and give them all a pint at the end of the game. And that's about their only payment. It's just incredible. And I think that will stand us in good stead for a long time because a lot of them, they're not young, but they're in their 30s and 40s, as opposed to the later. We've been to other clubs where obviously a lot of the volunteers are much older, who have been around for many, many years. And I could see that being a problem. But I think that the problems that we've all been through over the last couple of years have manifested themselves with people wanting to help out. They realised we were in trouble. We needed bodies and people to help. And they made themselves known, which is, it's a godsend for us. It really is. So, and that's why we were saying earlier about the Wimbledon game a couple of years ago. We didn't have those people. We paid for all the stewarding. The costs were split with Wimbledon, but we did have a lot of stewards. We had to go to an outside company. If it happens again, we're still going to need an outside company, but at least we're going to have a batch of our own who we can, put in certain strategic places to help us out. So I think we're okay. I don't know, generally speaking, as you say, when we go to away grounds, they do tend to be older. But I also think that there's a much younger group of people now becoming interested in non-league football and supporting non-league football. So I think they will come through at many clubs in the near future.
I'm doing my best. We're trying to recruit as many volunteers as we can. To be fair, I'm in the middle of talking with Hayley, Chairman's wife, regarding that. Maybe we need to put something out on social media because we've got a security guy who's a local security guy who works at Tesco's. Like on a Tuesday he's there because he doesn't work, but on a Saturday he comes and controls the tunnel, which is handy, pulls the thing down. But we are trying to attract more stewards for match day. But like you say, it's volunteers. there ain't no money in it. We entice them with a burger and chips rather than a pint, I think, sometimes. So we got different way. But it is, we are trying, and it's hard to attract, a lot of the new fans that are coming. They like to have a drink, they watch the game. What attracts them to come into non-league football is they can have a pint and watch the game. You go to these, whether it's Arsenal, whether it's Tottenham, all these, you can't take your pints and watch the game. And this is so we're working on trying to attract that side of it. We have got a lot of youngs, we've got big youth, try and get their dads involved. So it's a never-ending job, really, though, isn't it, to be volunteers at a non-league football club. So, at the moment, the chairman keeps getting me to do jobs. So
that's what he was finding you for.
Hey,
that's what he was finding you for. He wants you to drive the coach tomorrow.
Yeah, you probably. Probably.
That's my.
Listen, let's be very clear. I drove the minibus last. Where was it? The last game? Bedfont, was it? No, not where did I drive the minibus? Where did we play last week, Pete? Not Tuesday, Saturday. I'm trying to think. I drove the minibus. The last time we drove it, I drove the minibus. So I do tend to drive the minibus. So yeah.
I've done it as well, Paul. You're not alone.
No, that's right. Just can't think what game I just drove the minibus to.
Do you know what I did? I before we had our own minibus, this 3 or 4 years ago, maybe even longer. I drove the minibus. We were playing somewhere near Milton Keynes. I drove them there. And I'd hired it from our sponsors, CVS. And I drove it there and I was so careful, drove it back, lovely. I'd got to the CVS yard, turned left and took the back end of another car off. I'd forgotten how long this minibus was. So I was so proud of myself that I'd done the job, saved us paying 50 quid to a driver and ended up paying 300 quid excess on the damage I'd caused.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Hemel Hempstead.
Hemel.
Yeah, Hemel I drove it. I think my son, who's obviously watching this, has just texted me Hemel. So when I pulled up at Hemel, the chairman's Hemel Hempstead, the chairman, Mr. Boggins there, he's on the gate. He's got his eye-vis on, letting us in. He said, "What are you doing driving a minibus?" I said, "Well, we have to all muck in somewhere."
So, we're talking about, weather-wise, you were talking about last Tuesday about the atrocious conditions like last Tuesday, and of course it weren't too healthy Saturday either. But how is there somebody contact? I take it they play on grass, do they? Up at
yeah, they must do. Listen to their fans on Twitter moaning.
Yeah,
4G.
Are you? Is there? If the weather's quite bad tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, what time you're leaving, and two, sort of like, is there going to be sort of phone calls in the morning to make sure that you're not travelling, halfway out the motorway, and all of a sudden you're getting that dreaded phone call to say the game's not on?
Well, yeah, I'll be annoyed about that. I'll be getting on the FA to make them come down to us again. Listen, I don't know what their pitch is. I've heard it's a decent pitch. They've not played on it since, for at least 2 weeks, because I was away previous Saturday. So they've got full-time groundsmen. They must have, because they're full-time. Whether they train on it, I don't know. So I'll be honest with you. I know it's supposed to rain a lot today and tomorrow. I don't expect it to be called off, to be fair. I don't know.
Yeah, they haven't played a game on it since the 11th of September. So, you would hope that with that kind of rest period, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Be like a home game for us then. They haven't played on it that long.
So I'm looking at your fixtures, and you're going to have to be really clever according to football web pages, though, Paul, because it's telling me on here that not only are you playing Kidderminster Harriers tomorrow night, you're also playing Harlow away tomorrow night as well.
Yeah.
You're then going to play Canvey Island at home, and then on the 12th, next Tuesday, you're going to play St Neots away and Harlow away on the same day.
Yeah, that's great. We can do that. I'll put the vets out. Aki can send me some players on loan, so that's not a problem for me. I'll put Aaron Gay against you on tomorrow night, and we'll play Kidderminster.
We'll do that.
I can have his players. He can give me his players now because we're in a different league.
Yeah, that's right. They can dual register, can't they? It's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll play the game tomorrow. Thanks, David, and we'll win now.
Frigging the ringers. Yeah, happy days.
But yeah, listen. We all know that that's the knock-on effect from having good cup runs, and you know we're gonna have a little backlog of games. So we just have to do it. What can we do? We do one game at a time. I worry about Saturday after Tuesday, and I worry about Tuesday after Saturday. And that's how I've always been. So, yeah, we're going to have a lot of games. But, you know, I've already seen that we're in just the beginning of October, and we've got 4 games in hand over the team at the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's 4 games already.
So you've got Canby Island. I mean, that's not an easy game either, is it? The way they've started in the trophy as well.
Yeah, no, it's not an easy game. It's going to be a tough game. Always tough against Canby. Always has been, you know, especially when we went up there in pre-season. They give us a bit of a turning over. But listen, like I say, we fear no one, you know. We weren't favourites to go to Bedford the last couple of weeks ago and went up there on a Tuesday night on a bit of a rain night that night as well on 1-3-2. So what we need to make sure that we do, all these cup games, we take our form into these league games because, and I'll keep reminding the players and I'll remind everyone else, that's our bread and butter. Not the FA Cup. We're never going to win the FA Cup. Of course we ain't. But, you know, for the FA Cup, it's a great morale thing. It's great for the club, great for the fans, and it's great for the players to play in that. But at the end of the day, come next Tuesday or next Thursday on training, they'll be reminded of that.
Well, I was just looking, you know, you're talking about a lot of games you've got to play. I was just looking at, I'm quite scared and I've got nothing to do with it. I was just looking at Aki's games in November and it's absolutely terrified. I mean,
I haven't looked. I daren't look.
Oh, yeah.
I'll end in my players, don't worry.
Yeah, it's Margate at home, Hornchurch away, Lewis away, Bowes and Pitsea away, and then Worthing at home.
Piece of cake.
Followed by Bromley at home. You know what I mean?
15 points. I'll be disappointed if we don't get 15 out of that. Where, do you know what? You can't forecast anything in our league at the moment. I mean, the top 8 to 10 are pretty much, if you've got everybody right down at the start of the season, who do you think finishes in the top 8 or 10? They're pretty much, I don't want to upset those below 10th, but they're pretty much where you'd expect a lot of teams to be at this stage in the season. There's a couple who have started poorly who will improve. Teams like Bishop Stortford, who I don't think started as well as they expected to, but they've improved lately. But there's been some strange results already. And even us, where we've lost 3 league games already, we've drawn our last 2. We really, with the number of points we've dropped from those games, we should be well off the pace. And we're not, because apart from Kingstonian, who've won 6 out of 7, most teams have lost a couple of games. So there's some strange results where we got beat by Corinthian Casuals, but a week before that, they went away to Worthing. You know, they'd beaten Worthing, drawing with Worthing. They played them 3 times. They lost last week, 90th minute penalty away at Worthing. There's just teams that you wouldn't ordinarily think were going to be up there. And what I have noticed, I don't know if Paul, if you've noticed with the teams you're playing against, or if your side is predominantly a young side, I've noticed that a lot of teams have got a lot of good youngsters this year. We played Horsham, who were a very young side. We played Potters Bar last week, who were unbelievable. We drew the game 2-2. We got a bit of a fortuitous own goal equaliser near the end. And although we were physically strong, they were moving the ball around and we were chasing them around for much of that game. And really, really did impress me. We went and played Bognor, another team with youngsters. Wingate and Finchley, full of youngsters. All these teams seem to have found these 18, 19-year-old kids who I'm sure are playing for the privilege of playing rather than the sort of pound notes. And you see it in their game. You see it that they're just willing to run and work. Whereas, you know, we've all experienced players who, you know, may not necessarily put as much effort in as you'd like them to for what they're getting paid. So, I think we're all right. I think we're not going to win the league. Tom might get upset listening to me say it. I just don't think we're consistent enough. I think we are on our day can beat anybody. We're strong. We're a strong side, but we know where we're lacking in a couple of areas on the pitch. Still lacking in a couple of areas, but I'm hopeful that we're going to be there or thereabouts in terms of a playoff position. And if you can sneak into that top 5, then you've got a chance because it's a semi-final and a final. As I say, on our day, I think we can beat anybody. So I think that we gained a lot of confidence from what we did last year in the FA Trophy. We got to the last 32 National League. We were 2-0 up against Oxford City. And then our legs went because we hadn't played for 5 weeks. They were playing every 3 days. So we've kept much of the same squad together. And a lot of those players have been with us now for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. A lot of players are now in their mid-20s who are with us from the age of 20, 21. So we're physically a strong side, technically very good in certain areas. If you're going to ask me where we're lacking, again, I don't want to upset players that we've got, but we know we're lacking goals. We've lost 3 league games 1-0 because we can't score. On Saturday, we drew 0-0 with Leatherhead. We had a host of chances. Their goalkeeper's man of the match. Everyone we play seems to have man of the match as their goalkeeper. So it tells you we're doing the right things getting there. It's when we get there, we can't finish it off. So that's where we are.
I suppose that's probably one of the, Paul may agree and Pete may agree as well, watching non-league, that's probably one of the hardest in non-league football. He's probably one of the hardest positions to get hold of, a striker at this level that can bang you in those sort of goals. There's not many of them about.
I personally, if you look at our goal stats, Pete might be able to tell you. I know Steve King would tell you. We have goals. We have goals scored from all over the park. We really do, and that's the joys about my sides. I've always been a little bit like that. I remember, when the 2 Rose brothers who were with me before, Hartford and Lou, scored 35 goals from midfield. Lee scored 34, 36 from up front. And
Sorry, Paul, can I just interrupt a minute? There has been some breaking news, which I've been waiting for all night because I had a feeling it was coming. And if you don't,
you've been given a bye.
Yeah, no. For me, it's very exciting. It's a very exciting news, but I'd like to read this because it literally just dropped on Twitter, and that's why I've been paying attention to you guys and half an eye on my phone up to my left hand side. So this is a statement from a side in the Southeast Division for the Isthmian League, and I've got to share it because for me it's fantastic news. Former Thamesmead and VCD boss Keith McMahon will take charge of Whitstable Town. We are delighted to confirm that Keith will be the new Whitstable Town manager with immediate effect. Keith arrives with many years of experience in football management and the development of youth players, taking Thamesmead Town from the Kent League to the Isthmian Premier Division, and more recently spending 5 years at VCD. Keith will be meeting the players and staff in the next couple of days, and we welcome him to Belmont. Following the unexpected resignation of Lloyd Blackman 12 days ago, the Whitstable Town directors received numerous applications and inquiries concerning the vacant position for first team manager. A series of interviews were carried out over 3 days during the past week, and the quality of candidates was high. We would like to thank everyone for their interest, and especially those who took the time to discuss the position with us. The club would also like to say special thanks to our player coach, Ben Harding, who has impressed everyone during his short spell with us, and whose help during this difficult interim period has been much appreciated. I mean, you guys know Keith. I mean, for me, it's fantastic news. As I say, I've got a little heads up this afternoon. For me, he probably deserves it, and it's fantastic to see him back in the game.
So what you're saying then, they flew out to Spain to do his interview. Unbelievable.
He was in Spain, so he definitely was, but that must have happened earlier in the week.
Hey,
congratulations.
Yeah, it's about time he got back in it, to be fair. I've known Keith a long time, as you know, back to the early days of Thamesmead. So, yeah, really pleased for him. I hope it goes really well for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic news for him. I know he's been missing it like hell for the last, it must be 18 months, 2 years since he's been out of the game, and so it's fantastic to see the man back in the game again, and hopefully that he can take Whitstable up the table and get up there towards those playoffs. Knowing him, he'll probably get them up there somewhere. it's exciting times for him. But sorry, mate, going back to yourself. I just saw that ping up at the corner of my left eye. So I forgot what we were talking about now. I was so excited I was seeing that ping up.
Striker, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, they're a sort. I mean, I'm quite lucky. You're talking about a lot of people got youngsters coming through. I think you'll find the likes of Wingate, a little bit like Hertford Town, really, have used their youth to bring them players through with their academies. I've got 4 lads who have come through. Probably 3 of them have come. 2 of them come from the 18s. One came. I've known since he was like 12, and he was always at Watford Academy. I took one from Welling Gardens. They're all young lads because I had to have that mix. Because a lot of people were saying that I could play a league game on the Saturday and a vets game on the Sunday with my team. Like Opie and Kendall and all them players getting on. So I've got a mixed bag really of experience and youth. And if I'm honest, the youngsters have never let me down. Never once have they let me down. They're obviously frustrated, as in they want to be playing more football. I get that, but sometimes you've just got to bed him in the right way. Not just, some people say you just throw him in, let him go on with it, but they're with a group of players that are very experienced and that will help them youngsters progress 100%. I would never have put them on contracts if I didn't think they was worth it. And it does work, the youngsters, but for me it's youngsters and experience works well.
So has Tom got a nice big long list then of that he keeps knocking on your door and saying, look, these are the strikers I want?
Yeah. I think the problem is, again, I don't know how Paul has found it, but I don't know where all this money's coming from, but we had the pandemic. We had a pandemic for 2 years, and yet seeing people are asking for stupid money over and above what they were getting before the pandemic. And it's I find it a little bit galling because a lot of clubs throughout the pandemic got help, and it's never advertised that they got help. We got help from the government, we got help from the local authority, we got help from the FA in particular, and I think our league, I think the 3 leagues and the Trident League put a lot of effort into securing grants for clubs. I know there was a debate in January about whether the next tranche of money we were going to get was going to be a loan or a grant, but fair play to them. They managed to secure grants for us. So we all got a fair bit of money over the last 18 months or so, which has helped keep us all afloat. And people forget that our overheads went down. When you're not playing, you're not paying, and your overheads have gone down. So there are clubs, and again, it may sound a bit controversial, and some people may criticise me for saying it, but I think there are clubs who did quite well out of it. And then now they seem to be throwing money at anything that moves. And the amount of money that, particularly for strikers, they're coming to me and asking for hundreds of pounds a week, and they're just being shown the door because they're just not going to get it at our club. But it's because it seems to have become the norm where you hear what some of these strikers are being paid, and then you've got other clubs who collect them, just have them sitting on the bench. No names mentioned, but it's crazy. So our next port of call really is trying to find someone who's not proven our level, someone you just want to see in training, someone who's got a bit of an eye for goal. And then hopefully you can mould them into becoming what you want them to become. I don't think it's very, very difficult. The only other chance you've got, and we've found it difficult, is to try and get someone on loan from a bigger club, but then you struggle with the fact they don't want to drop down to our level. If you're looking at a league side and, a league side will have a couple of young strikers and they're under 23s and you want to try and get them into proper men's football, they'll turn their nose up at it. They don't want to join from a League One side or a Championship side and come and play level 3 football. So that's the problem there, even if the clubs would want them to go out and learn their trade. So it's become very, very difficult. very difficult. So who knows where it's going to take us? I mean, we do know that's where we're lacking. We're trying to bring one or two in over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but they've got to buy into what we want to do as a club. It's as simple as that. I keep telling these kids when I have a conversation with them that what they don't understand is they're coming to a level 3 side. If they help me get promotion, they're a level 2 side. They're one-off National League. It's not inconceivable that we won't finish in the top 7 and then have a chance in playoffs to end up in a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years. They could be National League players, but yet they want it now. They're 19, 20, 21, and they think they're good enough to do it now. But if they came for a trial, if you go for a trial at a National League club, you're not getting in. You're not getting in a National League South team on a trial. But if you get your level 3 club up there, you're already in the squad before the season starts for next year. So you try and sell them that opportunity. And those who have got the patience to withstand it, those who are going to say, yeah, I want to be part of this squad. And we've got a very, very good atmosphere in our club. People love being at the club. And that's what we try and sell them. But as Paul said earlier as well, they're not going to play every game. You're still playing 50, 55 games a season. And they're going to play 15, 18, 20 games. That's not bad in the first season or second season at a level 3 club. But some of them want to play every week, and they'll drop down a division or even 2 divisions to play every week. But they'll wonder in 3 or 4 years' time why they never progressed up the ladder, because they had the opportunities and didn't want to take it.
No, that'd be money. That's why I keep it. I'm sorry to say, if you want to be controversial, I'll be straight out there and I'll tell you how it is. Teams at lower level than us at step 4 are paying bigger budgets than what we are.
Yeah.
So you're right. We've had a pandemic. Where's all this money come from?
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I mean, I'm not going to name teams in our division, but we know there are teams that create the income. I've got no problem with that. There are teams in our league that have big crowds. They create the income. If they want to spend it on players, I don't have a problem with that. But there are others that don't, on the face of it, seem to have any potential size of crowd. And then you hear the figures they're paying out. You're thinking, where on earth is it coming from?
I think, listen, again, became for controversial. You look back in the pandemic, and I won't name no names or no, but how many people put a GoFund page out and then all of a sudden they're throwing loads of money at their budget?
How many people criticising our league? Now, I'm not a puppet for our league. People know me, know I'll speak my mind. So if I thought our league had done something wrong, I'd say it, whether it's on here or anywhere else. But no one's giving them credit for what they don't get paid or any credit for what they have done as a group throughout this pandemic to get us money. And how many clubs at our level have actually gone bust? So the proof is in the pudding. They got us some big money from the FA. I mean, there are other teams, even teams at National League South, who were getting crowds of 200, getting the same money as clubs who were getting crowds of 2,000 to compensate them. So those clubs did. I don't want to say they got it coming out of their ears, but they certainly did collect a lot of money and didn't have anywhere to spend it. And then all of a sudden they're doing well this season.
One question I'd ask you. There was something very serious happened over the weekend, and you were talking about volunteers earlier on and staff, etc. But of course, there was a very serious injury to somebody, a good friend of the show, in Charlie McDonald at the weekend, and for Bart.
I read about it.
Fellow presenter. Unfortunately, she was going to be on with us tonight, and probably would have got something out of her tonight to do with it, but she's not well at all. Herself in Ali, almost getting to the situation where, it was almost like a trauma injury and etc., and done another fantastic job like she always does, for Charlie and others. But how important then is it for you guys? Because I sit on there and I know the girls get really, really angry when people put on there, physio required, but when the physio phones up, the club turns around and says, well, can't pay her. How important does those sort of injuries sort of look at it and realise that is probably one of the most important people that you should be paying at your club? I mean, when you see something like that, sort of almost make chairman, manager, sort of comes to, oh yeah, we should be paying. And I don't know what you guys do with your physios, and but I'm just saying, would you say that physio is probably, other than the manager, probably the most important person in the club?
I think it's more important than the manager, I'll be honest with you. Without a shadow of a doubt, I've got a new physio this year. My one left me, but I tell you, he's unbelievable. He's brilliant. And he'll come and start the warm-up before a game. He does it before training. He assesses the players. He's got his own little book. He does each player. And you've only got to think, how many people would panic in a. I'm not saying, if someone swallowed their tongue and that players would panic, whereas he'll come in, bang. And it's you need to think they're worth their weight in gold, and they deserve everything they get, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate over the last 4 or 5 years with the quality of the physios we've had. We're on to our third one now in the last 5 years. We had a girl who was with us about 3 years. She was exceptional. Another young lad came in for about a season and a half, then the pandemic hit, and we got a new one this season. And she's worth her weight in gold. But we're quite fortunate in that we perhaps haven't got the experience that, maybe the experience that they need. It's something we're going to have a look at. After, like you say, the sort of situations that you sort of, because you don't see them in front of your eyes, you don't necessarily think about them too much. We see them, as Paul's just said, getting them ready pre-match, looking at them, assessing them at training. Touch wood, fortunately, during a game, we've been relatively lucky. But a lot of the people we get in, we try and get in those who are trainees, and almost at the final stage of qualification or newly qualified. But it's a big commitment for them as well. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, away games when you're going 100 miles away, it's a whole day out on a Saturday or a Tuesday night. So, yeah, I'm not going to claim that our girl gets a great amount in terms of what we pay her. And it's certainly something that we probably need to have a look at, to be perfectly honest with you, because we do sometimes overlook that side of it.
But do you think, though, the leagues that you guys are in, because one's in the Southern League, one's in the Eastern League, do you sometimes think that there could be some kind of courses put on for the, for those sort of physios, maybe even meetings for the physios, like, say, for instance, somebody like Ali, who's very, very experienced in what she does, that she could lead a call, she could lead something there for the league, in the Eastern League or the Southern League or whatever else, and use these experienced physios that there are in the actual, inside those leagues, and people from outside of those leagues to come in and do some kind of like, I was going to say display, but that's not what I'm trying to look at. Some kind of workshop with the people from the, from the leagues.
I think the FA, didn't they, after the thing with what's his name? Eric, nobody.
Ericsson, yeah.
Ericsson. I think that the FA then offered all these courses for that particular injury, or that particular thing with the heart. I think there was a lot of the FA did offer these things about. I think all these physios, though, David, will do that in their own, like on their own jobs, if you know what I mean. And they're being updated, they're doing courses. Whether you would be able to get, say, 20 teams from the Eastern or 20 from the Southern, and all them physios get together and put their heads together and say, like, this is what we are doing, and they learn from that. Especially inexperienced ones. I've got a very experienced one, but I don't know. I think it wouldn't be a bad thing. Maybe they all got together, a bit like referees get together and have meetings. Why not?
Especially now, potentially with Zoom meetings, where you could do it after work one evening, log on and have a group and have someone leading it, discussing how to deal with things. That may well help, because they're not all at the same level, as you say, Paul. They're not all at the same level of experience. So, yeah, something like that could help. But it'd be for the leagues to look at it and try and put that out there and see if they've got any support for it.
Yeah.
So I guess, you're looking for a level of consistency, aren't you? Amongst, you may have young physios on the way up, you may have very experienced ones. I was just sort of looking at it from a fan's perspective. When you see a physio run on the pitch, I sometimes think, well, what qualifications have they got? How did they get accepted? And you look for a kind of minimum level, I guess, of qualification, which I guess they've got. But when you're taking your players to an away ground or whatever, opposing physios do get involved sometimes, don't they, with players? And I guess we're all looking for a level of consistency. And I guess what you were suggesting, Dave, could lead to a little more of that consistency amongst the leagues.
I mean, long gone. I mean, when I started first back, and when I first started doing tennis for Arla, I still remember the bloke running on the field with his bucket and a sponge. Do you know what I mean? And now we see, I see pictures of Ali walking in. It looks like she's moving house. Do you know what I mean? And she's going onto the football pitch, and she's got about 20 bags, and God knows what else she's going onto the pitch. But as I say, I still remember when first started, just literally people running on the pitch with just a bucket of water and a sponge.
Magic sponge, that's what it was called, wasn't it? I think the problem, Pete, that we have found is finding someone who wants to do it. That's very, very difficult, because the commitment has to be there. And if you're going to away games on a Tuesday night, the people have got to be at the ground 5 o'clock, sometimes even earlier, being at training on a Thursday, being, as I say, all day on a Saturday. If they're working or if they're studying, if they're working as a physio, they've generally got nighttime work. Very few of them have Saturdays off. A lot of them, even if they're studying, work for private physio companies on a Saturday, even if it's the morning till 1 o'clock. So it's very, very hard to find someone who's in that position. If you're fortunate and you've got someone who has been a physio and effectively on the verge of retirement, it's a different situation. And if you've got the younger ones who are studying, they may have the time to do it. But someone who's in full-time employment, it's difficult. We struggled this year to replace our last one. And we know, when I literally got a message yesterday that our women have now found one for Sundays. We used to double them up on Tuesday and Thursday because they train at the same time, well, not the same time, within a couple of hours of each other. She was coming in early, seeing the women and then seeing the men, but not available for a Sunday match. But now that we've got another one for Sundays, but it's exceptionally difficult to find someone. I don't necessarily think it's all down to what you pay them. I think it's their work routines making it difficult for them.
Well, I was quite lucky with mine because I had my mate come on. I've been after him for years, and he's got his own practice and everything. And then he came in for a week, and then Southend United took him. So, you know what I mean? And then I've got this other lad, Brian, who's brilliant. But to lose Matty's coming on the coach tomorrow to watch the game. But he obviously he made a mistake in telling one of his patients that he's trying to get back in football. He used to play at a good level at Stevenage and that. And so luckily I got a good one come back in. But I always say that I lost my physio at Southend United, and they didn't 7-day him.
And I mean, talking about Southend United and the FA Cup, of course, they play Chertsey, don't they? I mean, that's a great draw for them, and I think Jersey Bulls must be kicking themselves as well, because that would have been an even bigger game for them.
I only see that result. I didn't realise they played yesterday, didn't they, Jersey Bulls? And then I have not seen the full draw, so all I know is who we possibly may have. Apart from that, I don't know anyone else who got or win or not. So Chertsey, that's a great draw.
You have rekindled my interest in the draw because you're still in it. My interest went in the 89th minute against Peterborough Sports away in the first qualifying round. So
I think they won again the Saturday, didn't they? Peterborough Sports.
They did the fruit.
They beat Dunstable, didn't they?
Yeah, they beat AFC Dunstable. The Greek. Oh, don't talk to me about it. That only upsets me, Paul. It only upsets me.
Sorry, mate. Listen, after you can come along, come on the coach tomorrow.
Oh, that would have been nice. Would have been nice.
So what is it about Haringey then? Do we not play for 90 minutes?
It don't look like it. We lost 3 games in a row in the 89th minute. So we did it. Well, in fact, not quite. Enfield was the 93rd minute. And I don't know what the matter with us. I mean,
well, you wouldn't want to play us, mate.
Yeah.
No, I heard about. I heard Pete mentioned your stat earlier. That's no good to us at all unless we're 3 goals up. We'll have to start fast out of the traps, won't we, to get enough of a lead. But now we just switched off. It happened to us on Saturday. Saturday, we got away with it because the linesman put his flag up. They scored in the 89th minute. That's their only shot of the game. We absolutely, well, there may be Leatherhead people listening. I won't say pummeled them, but their goalkeeper, as I say, was man of the match. We had the whole second half. And the last minute they scored, and fortunately, it's a flag up disallowed. Otherwise, that would have been about 4 out of 5 where we've done it. So I don't know what it is. We just somehow switch off and the team score right at the death.
So, Pete, I mean, coming to you, I mean, you know, in what you're doing, I mean, explain to us a little bit about, you know, #90minutes and, you know, how it all started and, you know, and where you are now.
Well, it all started with East Herts Radio, which was a local radio station for Ware and Hertford primarily. And for me, I mean, it all goes back to probably my dad taking me to watch Finchley when I was 5. So that probably dates me quite a lot. And I've always been interested in non-league football. I've worked 10 years at Watford in Premier, you know, half in the Premier League. I've done a lot of league football coverage. I've always loved non-league football, but the one thing that always frustrated me a little bit is I don't think non-league football gets the coverage, particularly radio-wise, that it deserves. And the other thing that I'll be controversial, the one thing that always bugged me about living in Ware since 1994 is that the local BBC station felt that the world fell off the end of the earth once you got to Hatfield, because they rarely were seen in this area. So when the opportunity came about in the year 2000, we did a thing called Heartbeat FM, which for 7 years covered the local non-league clubs, Ware, Hertford, Welwyn Garden City, etc. So when the opportunity came around a couple of years ago to restart it all a bit, when I'd stopped doing a bit of coverage of another sports speedway that I was involved with for 13 years at Briar House, that is now no more, I thought, well, let's give it a go. And as I was saying earlier, technology makes it possible. Technology makes it affordable. Thankfully, we have got a couple of sponsors on board that paid for the small amount of kit we need. And since June, we've decided to go independent because the radio station were going in one direction. We were going in the other because we're 100% sports people. And so we thought, well, let's give it a go. Let's put some live coverage out there. Let's get involved with social media, with our whole idea of just raise the profile. You know, even before every game on the Ware Neighbourhood app, I always put something on about Ware are playing or whatever. We cover 3 Step 4 teams, Ware, Hertford and Welwyn Garden City. And it's been amazing. I mean, we've got listeners all over the world, including Paul's brother and various other people. And we have people come up to us at games saying, oh, that was great. Thanks a lot. You know, a lot of people that came up to us after the Hemel game saying that their blood pressure was now back to normal, having hidden behind the back of the sofa for most of it. And we know we'll get a big listenership tomorrow night. Everybody, you know, sadly can get the day off work, follow Ware up to Kidderminster. We will follow Ware up to Kidderminster. And, you know, at least we'll be bringing news back to the people back home that can't make it. And the other thing I can say with absolutely, there's only one exception. I'm not even going to go into it because people know me and know who it is. All the clubs, 99.9% of clubs we have had to deal with have been absolutely excellent because they can see our vision of, we don't want to grab people and take them from the gate. We want people to follow our non-league football teams. When they can't physically do that, then we're there to provide a bit of coverage. But hopefully also, you know, if you heard the commentary from Saturday, probably not my commentary, but the atmosphere behind it, you know, if I was listening to that, I'd think, hey, I want a bit of that. Next time they're at home, I'll go up there. And that's really what it's all about.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. What you're doing is absolutely brilliant. I mean, we had a small experience of that where at Bognor Regis, they've got a radio guy. He's fantastic.
Lee.
But I was watching when we went down there a couple of years ago. I was actually listening to his commentary while I'm watching the game. All right, there's a bit of a lag, but it was just listening to how he was doing it. I was interested in how he did it. And then I think Oxford City do it as well. When we played them in the FA Trophy, there was a guy there doing it. So it's becoming, I think, as you say, it's people who are trying to spread the word. It's a real shame that they've now curtailed the live streaming as well. They allowed it during the pandemic, but it's back to normal now. You're not allowed to live stream the games at all, which is a bit of a shame because a lot of clubs now are filming their games. And as you say, Peter, maybe the technology is not that difficult now to actually get those games live streamed. But we're not able to do it anymore. So
no 7 day in there, mate. I'm sorry, he's taken for this area. Don't think you can take him over there on a 7 day.
I was thinking you may want a higher level of football, Pete. I don't know.
Dear. I'm not entering into that one.
Sorry, Paul.
One thing I've spoken, and Pete knows this, and Paul knows this. Of course, one thing I've spoken to Paul about. I've spoken to Pete in probably a longer time than Paul. That I've been trying to put together a sort of a local non-league channel on Twitter and YouTube and stuff with people like the help of Pete and 90 Minutes and others. And it's quite funny because I've spoken to sort of 7 of the local clubs in my area, and 5 out of the 7 have said yes, great, it's fantastic. 2 have said no, it's not for us. But the idea again, as I've spoken to Pete and I've spoken to Paul about it, it's nothing in it for me. It's just a matter of just trying to put Pete's content, Enfield's content, Cheshunt's content, FC Romania's content, etc., in one area. So that you've actually got, if you wanted to see, Paul's stuff, you can go to our local non-league on YouTube, same with Cheshunt stuff, and it's all in one place, so you can all get to see it and try and promote the local clubs who inside our area, with just free promotion. It's nothing. I'm not asking for anything other than, as I said to Paul, maybe like just a press pass to come in and do stuff or whatever else. But and do that sort of stuff, and maybe interview a manager on a Wednesday night, going up to the game on a Saturday, and using that channel to promote those local non-league clubs in our area. And we was hoping to launch it tomorrow night, but then Paul's side decided to score a goal in the last minute, and so now I'm putting it back to the 16th. I'm putting it back now to the 16th of October instead. But it's that type of thing where we just want to try and help, a bit like Pete, trying to help as much as possible. We've done this show, me and Keith, for over 10 years now. I'm just trying to do other bits and bobs, to try and promote, especially the local clubs around the area, to try and get them a bit more sound. And literally all Pete's stuff will have accreditations to him underneath. All the wear stuff will have the same with Cheshunt, etc., etc. Everything that I do will be given to the clubs as well to put on their own social media channels. And it's just a matter of just trying to get everything there, to try and get a package together so that you've got, if Aki was playing, Ware one week but Cheshunt the next week, you can go there and have a look on that channel and they're all in the same place, rather than having to go all over the place to find content. But on that sort of side, would you guys think that if it was an Isthmian League thing or a Southern League thing, that a non-league match of the day programme would be a good idea? So, i.e., what I mean by that is that if you've got somebody coming to film your games, even if it's somebody filming it on an iPhone, or if it's somebody doing it on a camera, or if it's a VO or whatever else, where you basically get to send your goal highlights to a certain email address where you send it to it. And then if there's a big game going on, say it's like Ware versus Kidderminster, that's the main game. And if it was, say, like me and Pete, or Pete and Simon, or me and Keith, just basically summarising that game and then showing the rest of the actual goals in like a match of the day type programme that would come out on a Sunday night or something like that. Do you think that's a good idea?
It's a fantastic idea, but didn't the league try it with that back of the net company that they engaged in? I think all of us would like to see highlights. I don't think anybody would say they wouldn't want to see highlights. I used to watch that one, even when we used to take them on our iPhones. I've managed to get a lot of our goals this season because I stand behind the goal. and I video, and I've got quite a few of our goals, and it'd be great if you could send them somewhere and other people could see them. I mean, our equaliser last week was, nearly brought the house down, despite the fact it was an own goal. It was just brilliant. It was, it was such a tense game, and the goal, sort of the ball ping-ponged around in the penalty area and ended up in the back of the net. And what was there in the bell end, everyone went crazy. And I think other people would have loved to see that, unless they were a Potters Bar fan. But everybody else would have loved to see that go. I'm definitely up for anyone that wants to show highlights of goals and near misses or whatever. But whether it can be done or not, I don't know how you could do it. I know that they did try and do it. They were in a studio interviewing people. They had guests and stuff, but for some reason it didn't work. I don't know if they charge the league too much money to do it. I don't know.
The problem with it is you've got to rely on the clubs to send the stuff in. And I think you've got to look at it and go, well, look, you've got to look at it as glass half full rather than glass half empty. So if you've got, say, for instance, with the Isthmian League, there's 82 teams. So you've got 41 games on a full weekend. If you manage to get 25 people sending their goal highlights, that's great. If you've got 15, great. And eventually it'd build that everybody that actually does something, they would be able to sit in, because not necessarily every team is going to be recording their games, hasn't got like the VO or whatever machine to actually do it, or someone to do it. And it's just an idea just to put that together, not into the context of like Back in the Net did, where they were doing like a full game and stuff like that. It's just like maybe an hour program where you put all the 5 minutes from each game or whatever else, because you've got the highlights, and then maybe one main game where you can sit and discuss it and get them out there on a Sunday. So everybody has a deadline of like send it in by midday on a Sunday or whatever else, and then we put it out as a as a match of the day program for Southern League, Northern League, Isthmian League, or a crossover of the three or whatever, just to get it out there and put your foot in that water. And I think once you actually start seeing the success of it, I think then people would then sort of come forward with it. But I mean, what other stuff would you like to see social media wise for the leagues to do like that? Is there anything that any ideas that you've got that you feel that would be a good idea?
You're talking to a dinosaur here, so I'm not going to be able to contribute much to that.
I mean, Pete in the business. I mean, yourself as a chairman and Paul as a manager. Is there stuff that you see in non-league that you would like to see that's in maybe in the National League or in the in the Football League? I mean, is there stuff there that they do that we could do as a non-league fan base for non-league?
I think it comes a bit back to, what Aki was saying about physios and what we were saying about volunteers. That, we'd all like the equivalent of match of the day and the non-league Gary Lineker sitting on the sofa. But all we do, we cover 3 clubs. Okay, we give live commentary. We're doing all the social media stuff as well. Simon somehow manages to video the game while acting as my match summariser. I've got no idea how he does it, because me and YouTube cameras just don't get on. But, I had a quote from the chairman at Welwyn Garden City, where we were the other week, and he turned around to me and said, "Oh, you do pretty well for 2 blokes." And I suddenly thought, well, yeah, this does take a lot of time, actually. And there are only 2 of us. And we would love to give live commentary of Hertford, Ware and Welwyn Garden City every Saturday, but we just can't do it, because we're volunteers and outside we have lives. And while I like what you're aiming at, I'm just wondering whether you can actually get the people, one, with the commitment and also the experience. If we're going to do it, then we need people that have been around a little bit and to do things like you yourself. You've been doing this show 10 years, Dave, so that's a bit of experience. You can't put anybody in that seat. So for me, maybe might be sounding a bit glass half empty here, but I think we got to be real as to what can be achieved.
I mean, one of the things I've always wanted to see happen, and no one does it, and it's just really weird that it's never happened. It's almost like a soccer Saturday, but for non-league. Now, I know that's pushing it a little bit too much, but in the idea that if we've got a Zoom like we've got here, and if we were sitting on the panel on that Saturday talking about the games or whatever, you could be looking at football web pages, see that there's a goal, and if you've got And again, it's a lot. It's you know, as you said, you've got to have the people there to do it. But you could have somebody, a fan or somebody like that, that's at those grounds where they've got the Zoom link and they Zoom link in, because they can actually zoom in through that. If you see what I'm saying, through their 3G or whatever else, describe the goal, describe what's going on in the game, and then they could go back off again. And if it's, so you could, a bit like how they do it, but that would be almost like the cheats way of doing it, because you could have a Zoom line that could be open, that would be sent out to these people at these games, at these grounds, and then they could actually come in, if you see what I'm trying to say. There is a way of doing it, but of course you'd have to have somebody there like yourself, Aki, standing behind the back of the goal, and would come to you because you've just scored.
It's still a massive commitment and a massive.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're talking about how are you going to get feeds into 40 odd games and people coming back into you and someone editing it, talking to you about what one you're going to go to, who you're going to go to. I mean, in 40 odd games, there'll be goals going in left, right and centre, or incidents left, right and centre. And how are you going to get, I mean, I see what you mean about potentially have a fan of a club. But as Peter said, where are you going to find these people who are going to want to change what they do on a Saturday afternoon, in terms of they go there, they have a couple of beers with their mates, watch a game of football, to all of a sudden giving them a role, and they're committed to doing something. I mean, we have a situation where if my nephew doesn't go to the game, we don't put out a tweet, because I'm not doing it. I'm the only one who's got access to it, and I am so engaged in the game, especially if someone else scores. I'm not putting their goal down 1-0, so-and-so just scored against us. That's the last thing I want to do. So, you know, that's why we the other day on Leatherhead, we had a complaint that no one tweeted how our game was going on. Well, Leatherhead were tweeting it. I was there, and I'm watching the game. So it's very, very difficult to get people to commit to that sort of thing.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I do agree, because at the moment I'm filming the game. I'm updating the score on the laptop. I'm also doing the app for the Southern League app, and doing the tannoy at the same time. So it is a bit of a it was a bit of a one-man job. I need about 6 pairs of hands, but yeah, it's fun.
With things like that, though, I don't know if you've noticed, with how we've took on board, and again, it's all voluntary. A fella who started doing our social media, as in photos, updates. He's on Twitter. He does all the Twitter, because that's one of our biggest gripe with fans, that if they can't make the game, they can't see, they don't know any updates, and because the Southern League I don't know if they don't support that football web pages or what, but unless you actually put stuff on there, I think Bill does it for us now. He's back after he's been ill. But if you don't put nothing, everyone used to follow us for that football web pages. But now he's been in, he takes photos, the photos are up there, he does the tweets. And, you know, if you ain't got people like Pete and Simon at the game, because they're somewhere else, then it's great, because the fans can follow it. And it builds up that support. It really does.
Of course, the Southern League have their own video printer, don't they? So they've got their own video printer where it all goes on there. But you can, and I will share it with you later on as well, because there is a way which I've found out to use it a bit like you can with football web pages. Because if you go onto the Southern League website and choose the fixtures, you can actually get it on there. So it's a bit like football web pages. So it updates automatically. So when the clubs fill in the stuff on their apps, it does come up like football web page, but you've got to go into the Southern League website to be able to do it.
I don't know. We get a tablet now. It's not team sheets, it's tablets. But I think both Bill and his daughter, Rayleigh, chairman's wife, were doing it at first, found it easier to do on their phones. But it's not straightforward, I can assure you.
Paul, I mean, if you want to, put them in touch with me, because I do it off my phone.
They do it off their phone now, but they find it easier than doing it on the tablet. The league give you this tablet.
The only reason I didn't do it off the tablet for Harley's because the Wi-Fi was so bad I couldn't never get on it. It kept freezing all the time. So I said,
that's it. You've got to have a good Wi-Fi as well.
Put it on my phone. It was a lot easier.
But you have to have a good Wi-Fi as well. So
yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
And you have to print all the sheets on a Wi-Fi printer and everything. So we've had to buy all that. But yeah.
And I think it's a crazy thing with football web pages thing. because last season before, if you've got the app, you can get a notification of when a goal's scored. You can get half-time, full-time scores. You get the goal scorers. I'm doing a commentary. My phone will flash, and boom, there I've got a score update. Now, because for some reason the Southern League don't want to know football web pages, all that gets taken away. So it's just, from a fan perspective, there must be loads of fans like me that are just thinking, well, what's going on here? Why can't we just have one system?
It's very strange. It's very strange. I find it strange that they don't even have an under-23s league, and we've lost our 23s now because of it. Got no league. We can't join the Ishmael League, what he's on. It's some strange things all across the board everywhere. It's quite strange, really.
So how have you guys, especially you, Paul, how have you found the switch from the Ishmael League to the Southern League?
Listen, we got a load of new balls again, and we've got another bench kit again. so about 7 games in last year, new balls, new bench kit, and then that stops, and then we get it all again. But that's the only day. Listen, seriously, I don't find it no different. I'm visiting new grounds. I've always been involved in the Ishmael League. So for me, it's my first time in this league. Ware's been there before, but other than that, no different really. No different.
Standard. Where would you say the standard is if you was out
so far? Do you know what? Actually, I thought, and everyone said, and I never count my chickens anyway. But everyone said to me that it should be quite an easy league to win. Now, I look at the Ishmael I was in last year, and I look at teams like Tooting and Hamwell, maybe.
Bracknell and all that, yeah.
Bracknell are up there. Marlow are doing well, so it's a little bit different. I think it's very definitely competitive. We've still got all that, your Hertford, your Romania, your Harlow, all them teams still in it. Bedford, big money, decent side. Burco, decent side. I think the standard's going to be much, mate. I think it's going to be much the same, to be fair.
See, now for me, my opinion is I looked at the two leagues from last year to this year, and I think it's a much higher standard league, the one that my club's in, as well as yours.
Yeah, listen, I think you're probably right. I can't judge on all them teams. I don't really know. But listen, come Christmas, he'll tell you exactly. But I've started off well. You look at how we beat Kidderton, how we beat Tame, and now both them teams have gone full circle and now beating them teams. I just think we've got too many. Your Hertfords, you've got your Romania, you've got your Harlows. Who else I'm missing out who came over?
Abbey.
Maybe.
And the Abbey. See, so you've got all them games, and they're all like, there might not be derbies other than Hertford Ware, local derbies, but they're still classed as derbies. So they're hard, they're tough games. So I think there's a disadvantage there because you know what it's like. I play the Abbey, everyone knows each other. I play Harlow, they know each other. We play Hertford, all right, they're a young side, but they're harder games. They're harder games for us. Do you see what I mean? A bit like Premiership, when you see how many London teams are in the Premiership and they all become derbies. And it don't matter who they're playing, they're always an hard game. And that's how I feel, really, a little bit. So sometimes it could go against us, but yeah, listen, I think it's a tough league. I'll be honest with you, I think it's a tough league.
What about your league, though, Aki? Who's your derbies against in there? What have you got the same thing, or is it yours is more sort of spread out, though, isn't it? In the
ours are more spread out. The local ones are Enfield and Wingate and Finchley. Yeah. There isn't really anybody else within a million miles of us. So, we play a lot on the sort of Surrey, Sussex borders, and we go over to Worthings, Bognors, Horsham, Lewis. We go a lot that way. Richard Merstham on the route down there, your Leatherheads. None of them are derbies. obviously they're not easy places to get to, even though they're only sort of 40, 50 miles away. They're quite tricky to get to. But no, I mean, I don't think we enjoy the game against Enfield particularly, not because there's any great animosity between the clubs. I mean, I think that we get on well. I mean, some of our fans take it a bit more seriously, but then so do theirs. But that's a great game. It's a great game for us because it means a big crowd. I mean, the last time we had Enfield at our place, the crowd was 800. So that's fantastic for us. When we played them there a couple of weeks ago, midweek, not particularly nice weather. I think it was about 400 odd. So, they're good games. They're good games. But we don't really have local derbies because of our position, really, where we are.
I mean, do you enjoy the local derbies, or is there games that when you do your commentaries, is there games you look forward to? I mean, you and Simon look at certain commentary opportunities and go, well, yeah, that's the one we're gonna, I really fancy that. That's the one I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, you got to look at the local derbies, particularly in a Ware perspective. I mean, Hertford Ware. And the atmosphere's always cracking. It was a bit of a shame this year because Hertford are obviously having the artificial surface put on. They had to move the game to Bishop Stortford. And Paul will agree, it didn't quite have that, while it was, had its drama, Ware won the game 2-1, but it just didn't have that quite X factor for me that the previous ones had. So yeah, there are always ones, we look forward to against your club, David. I mean, always Harlow supporters. And, I think it's those clubs where you can engender a little bit of atmosphere. And, the good thing about non-league, I know Aki said, two supporters do treat it a little bit differently, but he's good-natured banter. 99% of the time, and those are the kind of games that you look forward to. But I do take the point that sometimes those games, because of that, can turn into a bit of a lottery. And if you're playing 4 or 5 of them in a season, then that's kind of 10 games where perhaps if you weren't playing a local rival, then you might be more certain of the result.
And also as well, I suppose, especially for you, Paul, if you did get really successful this year, and even if it's yourself or Harlow or Waltham Abbey, Romania, Hertford, and they managed to get up, I suppose it's going to be a little bit of a lottery next year where you go as well, isn't it? I mean, could it be sort of the Premier Division in the Southern League, or would you get put back across and go into with Aki and that sort of stuff into the Isthmian Prem? I mean, I suppose it could be a little bit of a juggling act next year where you could be put, if you get successful, go up to step 3.
Yeah, we wouldn't really know, would we? You're right, because it'll all work on promotions and relegations. And yeah, I don't know. I'd like to think that I would be, if we was lucky enough to get promoted, I'd like to be in the Isthmian Prem. I ain't going to lie. That's no disrespect to being in the other. I look at Royston and some of their travelling is unbelievable.
You don't fancy Truro away then, no?
Well, I don't mind actually. It's whether the chairman, listen, I've been there before, Truro away with Billericay, so it'd be whether the chairman to pay for the hotel or not the night before. But yeah, listen, I don't mind. So that's all part and parcel of being football. The better you do, you've got to expect that. You're travelling and everything else becomes a lot more involved, especially if you go up the leagues. I
think one of the disappointing things for me this year as well, Aki and Paul and Pete, was we've come out of what we used to call the Jigsaw League down in the Isthmian South Central, and you get put into the Southern League, and then Guernsey gets shoved into the South Central League, and you had that opportunity to actually play that game that. He's almost an international. Do you know what I mean? Type thing. I mean, were you a little bit disappointed that, that you got moved out? Then can you get the opportunity to play him a couple of times?
Imagine getting on a Tuesday night. Oh yeah, listen, but it's in and out, isn't it? So you go in, you go out, but it's a lot of travelling. Yeah, I'd like to have gone there. So, but it is what it is. So, in a way. It's nice to go over there at the beginning or the end of the season because you're nicer weather, but would I want to go there in the middle of December? I don't know. Listen, I would have liked it, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you know, it's not bothered me really.
And of course, their first game of the season was even postponed at the weekend as well, wasn't it? Because if I remember rightly, I think Sutton Common were actually in the FA Cup. So
so they've not played the game yet, have they?
Off, yeah. But I've just seen their fixtures and their first games this Saturday. They're at home to Sutton Common, so the Sutton are going to there on Sunday. But it'd be nice to see them back playing because it's been a long time since we've seen Guernsey play a game of football in the Isthmian League. So I think it's been a season and a bit now. It's probably been nearly 2 years, I suppose, with COVID and everything else. It's probably getting on for that since they played a game. So it'd be good to see them back in the non-league family, guys. Do you think?
Yeah. Well, it's good to see. It's good for all of us. I think it's been, since we started, it's been absolutely brilliant just to get back into it, get back into the matches, get back to seeing people, the crowds, the atmospheres that are created at these stadiums. It's been so far we haven't had a duff game really. Even sort of 0-0 draw on Saturday was an exciting game. Last Tuesday's game will actually live long in the memory. It was a really exciting, fantastic end-to-end game with the right result in the end. Both teams getting a point each for their efforts. So we've been away to Bognor and we've won there in front of 600 people. So I've really, really enjoyed it. I've enjoyed seeing the people back in the boardrooms that, we hadn't seen for a couple of years. Talk about how everyone is. Good to see everybody still well. It's been exciting. I'm looking forward to it. We were lucky. We finished last November in the league, but the FA Trophy run kept us going till January.
Yeah.
And that really, that was massive for us. I think if we'd have finished last November and had nothing to do, that would have been awful. But we were lucky. We got that run to the middle of January, which kept us playing. At least those extra 4 or 5 games kept us together. Because the one thing we have struggled with is keeping the players interested when there's no football. I think January the 16th was our last game until we started again in August. And that was hard. And putting squads together was difficult this time round. Normally you're looking at potentially who you're going to invite to pre-season in, June, end of June, whereas people were announcing their signings in March and April, which was ridiculous. And, a lot of our players were, had been approached and they want to see something from our club. And I don't particularly like committing ourselves too early when I don't know where you're going to be from March till July, August time. So that's been difficult. I don't know, Paul, have you changed your squad much, or are you essentially much of what you had the previous year?
Yeah, I've got as much as what I've got last year, other than I brought in them 4 players, the 3 youngsters and Robbie from Welling Garden. My main concern was, and I don't know if Tom found it the same, I had a lot of injuries from the first lockdown. So when you went back, I started noting that we started to get injuries because of the long spell we'd been off. Yeah. And again, we come back, injuries. So through May this time, we just, if people wanted to come in when we was allowed to, we would just have a little muck about. But I actually started pre-season in the beginning of June. So if you work it out now, we have probably played in excess of 25 games, including the pre-season. Now you look back, you think, bloody hell, is that too much? Is it too much? But
we did the same thing, Paul. We did the same thing. We started playing again in May. We just started getting them in. As soon as it opened up again, we started bringing them in because we had to show them there is football. Whilst other people are talking to them, we had to show them we're interested in the forthcoming season. And we arranged a couple of friendlies. We didn't have a game every week. We arranged a couple of friendlies in sort of May and June just to get them back into playing football. And then, we started properly in July. But I think really, as you say, we didn't really stop once we started ticking over from the end of April onwards. And we've been all right with injuries so far. I think what helps us in a perverse way, being knocked out of the FA Cup helps us because we haven't got so many rearranged games coming in on a Tuesday, and it is a bit easier. Although I like the game. I like a Saturday Tuesday. I like it for my own personal preferences. But I think from the team perspective, a game a week is good in a sense that it gives you time to recover. People who are carrying a little knock, so you can still put out a strong side on the Saturday. The only disastrous side of that, and you'll know, Paul, is if you get beat on a Saturday and then you've got to wait another week to have another go to put it right. So that's difficult. But aside from that, we're quite fortunate in the way the squad's taking shape with injuries and the like.
Well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, guys, and I've got to say this: the 2 hours has flown by, and that's the end of the show tonight. I'm really sorry to say that because I've really enjoyed myself tonight with Paul, with Aki, and of course with Pete as well. We wish Paul all the very, very best for tomorrow night, mate. Go and do it for us, and tomorrow night
we'll definitely keep an eye on you.
We'll be buzzing for you guys tonight, and safe journey there, and to you as well, Pete, tomorrow. And I'll be tuning in tomorrow night, listening to the commentary as well tomorrow night from Pete and Simon. So I'm really interested in that. And I say massive thank you to all three of you tonight, including the chairman from Heineken, Mr. Aki as well. Also as well.
You embarrass me now.
Next Monday, the Winstable Town manager will be back with me next week, and we will have a referee special next week. We have got Scott Jackson, referee in the National League. He's going to be joining us next week, and also Steve Bennett will be joining us as well, plus others, and where we'll be talking about the flack that referees are receiving and how we manage to keep referees in football, not just non-league football, in football in general next week. So it should be a really great show next week with those guys. But a massive thank you to everybody that's been on the show tonight. A massive thank you for everybody for watching once again. And again, we must finish with a massive congratulations to the man himself, Keith McMahon, getting a job at last. But we'll be back same time next week. But until then, good night.
Cheers, guys.
Good night.
Cheers,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, it's Pete.